You'll look at the light gray line there, and you'll see this is the placebo. Now, this is the control group. This is a group of people they ask to cut their food back 500 calories and to exercise. So as a consequence of doing that, they lost a couple of pounds. And then you see the heavy black line where the people who were put on these GLP-1 agonists. And you see they lose a lot of weight. They do it in percent of body loss, body fat loss. They'll lose 12, 14, 16, 18%. Maybe even bragging about 20% of their body weight lost. Well, if you add this up, what it turns out is it's about a 37-pound weight loss. And it takes 68 weeks to accomplish that. Now, I want you to look out 68 weeks. You see they're losing weight for 68 weeks. And then they hit a point where the body says, hey, you can't lose any more weight, or you'll get sick and in big trouble. So you hit a plateau. This plateau stays. It's permanent for the rest of your experience. You're at a plateau. You've lost 37 pounds. You've spent $17,000 losing that weight. It's taken you a year and a quarter to lose it. And you're done. You'll maintain that weight. You'll maintain that 37-pound weight loss if you keep taking the drugs, just like prescribed. But once you stop the drugs, you're going to regain the weight. Plan on it. Anyway, that chart I gave you compares the effects that you see here with the effects of following a healthy diet. Now, I mentioned the way this works is it cuts down on food noise, right? Well, I call this my appetite, my pleasurable appetite. It's something I desire. I like to enjoy my food. But if you're going to make yourself sick and cut out food noise, what else do you make sick? What else do you accomplish in terms of things you enjoy that may be muted and you may not enjoy them as much? Like you're interested in fine wines, in other people, like sex, for example. Your interest in sex is markedly decreased. Your muscle mass is decreased. It puts a cast over your whole life, these drugs do. Spend some time with that chart. And the chart ends up telling you a couple of things that are never addressed, but really should be. And that is, which diet is animal cruel? And which diet is kind to animals? And which diet is planet destructive? And which diet strives to save planet Earth? I'm up to 2 pages now. I bet you talk to me in a few months, I'll have 3 pages of comparisons for you. All right, so low-carb diets and GLP-1 agonists, they make you sick, sufficiently sick so you lose weight. But I tell you, you look at a lot of the movie stars out there, and Oprah's one of them that's been identified, and I have my suspects about certain politicians that are on these. Seem to be losing some weight these days. They don't look so good. Anyway. All right, so I've told you 2 ways to mute the appetite. Go on a low-carb diet, make yourself sick, you develop ketosis, you don't eat. Carnivore diet, keto diet, whatever you want to call it. Or you can take drugs that are highly effective. But look at what you have to pay to gain so little. 37 pounds, 68 weeks, $17,000 of being sick. Now you're sick. At least half the people complain about being ill on these kind of diets. But that's the ones that complain. What about the other half that it hasn't reached a level where they want to complain to the investigators? They don't just feel right. They don't know exactly what it is, but yeah, they're sick too. That's how the diet works. The drug works. Makes people sick. All right, so we've taken care of the hunger. You may say, well, that's really good. How about other ways to lose weight that are popular? And do they take away hunger like the diet and drugs do? Let's talk about bariatric surgery. Most people believe bariatric surgery, which is surgery for weight loss, is a permanent safe solution for obesity. I can finally stop the battle of the bulge. I don't longer have to feel guilty because my willpower will lose to the surgical malarrangement that the doctors caused in my intestinal tract. The serious malabsorption that the doctors caused by operating on my intestinal tract. Willpower is still there. Hunger is still there. So we have all these bariatric surgeries, and they work. You lose weight. And besides that, you have some other benefits I want to acknowledge. Reduces your risk of dying, reduces your risk of heart attacks. Cures diabetes. Let me tell you, the cure rate for diabetes is close to 80%. From the surgery, close to 80%. Anyway, you do lose some weight, but they have to rearrange certain parts of your intestinal tract. Like, for example, one way that it's accomplished is a small hole is made in your abdomen, and this particular band is put around part of your stomach. This is an inflatable band. And so if you complain to the doctor about not losing enough fast enough, the doctor will just pump some more fluid in it, make the stomach even smaller, and you lose more weight. Of course, you suffer more too. Anyway, that's a common approach, is the lap band. And the other approach is to take away like about 80% of your stomach. It's gone. Boom, thrown in the trash. Not coming back either. This is a sleeve approach, gastric sleeve. And then we have the most dramatic of all surgeries, bariatric surgeries, and that's an intestinal bypass, where they take and they route the food away from the part of the intestine that absorbs calories and everything else, vitamins, minerals, everything. That's the small intestine. So what happens is right after the stomach, they leave a little bit of small intestine, and then they isolate the other 25 feet of small intestine out of the flow of food, and they reconnect the esophagus to the last part of the small intestine. So you bypass absorption. Yeah. And people run into all kinds of nutritional problems. And one of the things that I have people who come to see me worry about is, because of this malabsorption, yeah, they lost weight, but, they have vitamin deficiencies and, fatty acid deficiencies and all kinds of things. And their doctors put them on massive doses of supplements. And they say, well, you don't like people to take supplements, do you, Dr. McDougall? I say, no, for very good reasons. Well, what am I going to do? Well, what you're going to do is you're going to be on the most nutrient-dense diet that there is, and that's a starch-based diet with fruits and vegetables. More nutrients than any other diet you can possibly design. However, there are two nutrients which there's no such deficiency of, which is protein and calcium, where we started this conversation. Those two nutrients are not a problem here either. It's not just saying it's calcium and protein deficiency, but that's all we learned. We don't have to worry about that on the McDougall diet, not at all. Not having animal foods in it. But the vitamins and minerals and so on, you're eating a diet, if you follow our plan, that has more vitamins, minerals, plenty of essential fat, all the protein, amino acids you'd ever need, et cetera. You don't need to take supplements. Let's talk about Al Roker. I think he's a good example. He's public, he brags about his physique and his weight loss and his steps. Yeah, he's a NBC's weather reporter. He gets a lot of time on air. You can run across him. Al Roker, in 2002, he underwent gastric bypass surgery, lost 100 pounds, went from 320 to 220. And he was so proud. I can see him there holding his pants up. And then he regained the weight. In September of 2018, he went on a keto diet. And you see, he got good results, lost 40 pounds. Tune into the TV tonight, and you'll see an Al Roker who either needs the GLP-1 agonists, the semaglutides, the Ozempic, the Wegovy, the Zepbound, the drugs that are, he needs those. And maybe he's taking them, I don't know. Or he needs to go on the McDougall diet. That's what he needs to do. Stop this nonsense. It's gotten to the point where the American Academy of Pediatrics has given permission for the medical business to offer these therapies to children. Children are obese, but children. They say as of age 12, you can start giving them the GLP-1 agonists. At age 13, you can start operating on their intestines. Well, they say that because they absolutely know that there's no other way to handle the problem. A statement from Aaron Kelly, co-director of the Center for Pediatric Obesity. He says obesity is not a lifestyle problem. It's not a lifestyle disease. It predominantly emerges from biologic factors. Maybe your stomach is too big. Maybe your genes. Maybe you have psychological problems. You're to blame. That's what you're being told. And don't even think about changing your diet because it's not going to make any difference. That's what you're told. Guaranteeing financial success of both the drug companies and the surgery business for a long time. All right, so weight loss bariatric surgery, we lose weight very painfully, very expensively. But one of the things I want you to reflect on is these people are still hungry. They just can't eat. And so they do all kinds of things. They eat many times a day. They grind up their food. They do all kinds of maneuvers to get the food in because they're still ravenously hungry. And you can't beat that hunger drive. You're going to try for the weekend, aren't you? I hope so. All right. So I'm doomed to be fat and in poor health, people say. Unless I take the drugs or the surgeries, that's what they say. And as I say, 91% of people, I can show you the research, 91% of people are over fat for their health. But those people, how about other animals? Do you find any of them obese or too fat or no, none of them. Hippopotamuses, giraffes, gorillas, they all seem to be pretty much the size they ought to be, aren't they? Yeah. As long as they have enough food of their natural diet, they're just fine. How come it isn't that way with people? How come we have such difficulty? How come we were designed so poorly? I don't believe we were designed poorly. I believe we were as well designed as other animals. It's just we must be doing something terribly wrong. En masse, terribly wrong. And that's what we do to our animals. Sometimes when we bring them into our household, you've seen this. You've seen the pudgy cat or the pudgy dog because you're feeding them table scraps. Sure, you can make your animals sick and overweight. Just feed them a diet that's not intended for them. Just like, billions of people. We've known this for thousands of years. What the problem is. The problem is eating rich food all the time, not just on special occasions, but all the time. And typically the aristocrats, the kings and queens, the pharaohs, the priests, they're pictured as being sick and overweight. Whereas the common person who ate the starches, they lived on the corn and the wheat and the beans and the potatoes. And they toiled the fields and they built the pyramids eating these foods. But that wasn't okay for the higher class. What they did is they took these common starches and they fed them to pigs and sheep and cows, pheasants. And then they ate those animals. And they got fat and sick. Yes, they did. And so they do still today. But today, king and queen food is just right around the corner. We have Dairy Queen, Burger King, Imperial Margarine. Yeah. Or we have the most you can get for the least amount of money food outlets. That's what they do. That's what, industry is just responding to what you're asking for. You're asking for as much food as you can get for as few dollars as you can spend. Maybe not you particularly, but the general population. And so the food industry is going to respond to your demands. They're in business. So they'll do things like dump the leftover cheese in the pancakes and make a meal of a stack of pancakes that's 1,360 calories, 42 grams of fat, 36% fat. That's just one meal. A typical woman, active woman, will burn maybe 1,700 calories a day. A man, 2,000, 2,200 calories a day. But mild activity. But look, you took in, half to 2/3 of your calorie intake in one meal. A Taco Bell Chula Cravings box, 1,500 calories, 47% fat. Pizza Hut, when I used to eat pizza, still do, by the way, without cheese. When I used to eat pizza, I wouldn't eat just one slice. No, I think 4 slices of pizza is pretty common serving, and that's 1,240 calories. And then we have McDonald's coming out with their classic burger, and it's called the Land, Sea, and Air Burger. Guess what it has in it? For land, it has a little cow. For sea, it has a little fish, and you know what they're serving in the layer of air, right? Yeah. Anyway, 1,330 calories. You can't get away from this stuff unless you make an effort and you get some education and somebody tells you the truth. But that doesn't happen with most people. All right, so let's go on to another common myth. Starches leave me hungry. I must eat meat to be full. This is a kind of a thing I've noticed happening with people when they first change their diet. They say, "I'm not hungry, doc," or "I'm not satisfied, doc." And I can relate to that. I can relate to that because when I used to go to Chinese restaurants, when I was a heavy American diet eater, I never felt full because I was fed rice and vegetables. There was something missing. That pound of flesh and that glob of fat wasn't there in my stomach that it was used to.